Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. And tonight's Dynamite was from the Nashville Municipal Auditorium, of course, in Nashville, Tennessee. And I gotta say, tonight's Dynamite, I thought it was a solid show, in my opinion. Really enjoyed Dynamite tonight. They always are, they always keep on delivering. It was just a really solid, enjoyable show tonight. Tonight we had, in the main event, we had Jericho and Sammy Guevara taking on SCU for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And we also had a rematch from Full Gear, which was Pac versus Hangman Adam Page. But anyways, let's get on with the Dynamite review. So, AEW Dynamite opened up tonight. It opened up, we got news on an update on Kenny Omega, and they end up saying that Omega is feeling okay, and they played some clips from his match against Moxley at Full Gear, and said that Kenny Omega has a back, scratched up back. We saw that he had a black eye. So Kenny Omega ended up asking about Moxley's, health. The doctor ends up saying that he was banged up, that Moxley was banged up, but he was cleared to compete. And announced that Kenny Omega doesn't get cleared. He doesn't get cleared this week. So they have not officially cleared Kenny Omega as of this week. So we had, so that was that. We had, the update on Kenny Omega after the Lights Out match with Jon Moxley at Full Gear. So, and everybody is complaining about that Moxley Kenny Omega Lights Out unsanctioned match. I don't know what people's problem with that match is. That match was awesome. The storytelling for that was great. And in my opinion, it's a classic match. It was an Attitude Era type match. And people are complaining over that match. I guess some of these people who are complaining about that match, they must enjoy seeing matches that are mediocre. So it tells me that those people who are complaining, they enjoy seeing mediocrity and support it. Me, I don't want to support matches that are mediocre and not that good, and matches that are shitty. I don't want to support that. I want to see good shit that we saw in that match with Moxley and Omega. I don't understand some of these fans. They're complaining over that match. That was an awesome fucking match that they put on. What's the problem? That's all that I gotta say about that with the fans. I don't know what people's problem was with that match. I guess some of these fans love supporting mediocrity. It's ridiculous. So then, after we had that update of Kenny Omega, we had the first match, which was a quick match. Jon Moxley versus Michael Nakazawa. I think that's how you pronounce the last name. A very quick match. Moxley ended up winning double underhook DDT to Michael Nakazawa. So Jon Moxley ends up winning. Post-match, Moxley got on the mic, and he ended up saying, "Oh, does that count? Does that one count, right?" And he goes on to say that he delivered as promised at Full Gear, and that Kenny Omega will never be the same again. So we have Moxley end up calling Kenny Omega one radical son of a bitch. And Moxley says that he ends up respecting Kenny Omega. He ends up saying nobody in that dressing room besides Kenny Omega has the balls to step up to him. He says he'll take down everyone one at a time until he's the last man standing. So Jon Moxley ends up calling anyone out to confront him. He says, "You better kiss your loved ones goodbye and have an ambulance on speed dial." So that was what Moxley had to say, but it was a pretty good promo from Jon Moxley. Who will be the next to step up to Moxley? Just have to wait and see. Well, no, it was a short match. Nothing great or perfect there. Then we had the Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Marco Stunt versus the Dark Order, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson. This was a decent tag team match. Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, he carried mostly this match, and in the end, we had the Dark Order end up winning the match. Evil Uno ended up hitting a fatality on Marco Stunt. So the Dark Order end up winning the match. Post-match, we had Evil Uno. He had a mic, and he had his guys there, with the whole mask. And we had his creepers there, and Evil Uno ends up trying to recruit Marco Stunt to be in the Dark Order. And, it ends up not happening. So we had the creepers, the Dark Order creepers. They end up jumping Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt. They end up pounding them into the ground. The crowd was chanting for Luchasaurus because Luchasaurus was still out with an injury. But we see Luchasaurus ends up coming out. He ends up returning from his injury. So he healed up really quick. Luchasaurus came out. It was a good moment because the crowd went crazy. It was a great moment. I was happy to see Luchasaurus come out. So Luchasaurus comes down to the ramp. He ends up taking out one of the Dark Order creepers. The crowd was chanting "Holy shit," which was cool. So Luchasaurus ended up making his way down the ramp, and Luchasaurus is standing there with three creepers there from the Dark Order. And Luchasaurus then hits a really awesome spinning back kick. Takes out 3 of the Creepers, which was cool. And we had Grayson. Stu Grayson was the only one standing. So Grayson ends up taking a choke slam from Luchasaurus, and also a moonsault, a standing moonsault. And then Luchasaurus ends up, embracing Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt, and the crowd was cheering for that. Luchasaurus ended up, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt, the 3 of them, end up hugging it out as the crowd was cheering them on. And that's what happened post-match. But awesome moment with Luchasaurus coming back and the crowd, chanting "Holy shit!" And this crowd was really awesome tonight. The Nashville crowd. And then we had Darby Allin versus Shawn Spears and Peter Avalon. And this match itself, it was, okay match, in my opinion. And before the match got underway, we had sorry about that, but next we had Darby Allin versus Shawn Spears versus Peter Avalon. Match itself, it was okay, and Peter Avalon came out, got on the mic, talking. Darby Allin has, a very awesome entrance where he's just riding out on a skateboard, and Darby Allin is so over with the crowd, because there was chants of "Let's go Darby" from the crowd as the match got started. I mean, the crowd, was over with Darby Allin, and Darby Allin, he is very talented. I'd say he's one of my favorite guys on the roster. And during the match, Joey Janela ends up running down to the ring. He ends up beating up on Shawn Spears. And the two end up going into the crowd. And looks like Shawn Spears was out of the match, so it came down to Darby Allin versus Peter Avalon. And in the end, Darby Allin ended up winning the match, ended up hitting the coffin drop to Peter Avalon. So Darby Allin ends up winning the match. Post-match, Darby Allin gets on the mic and he ends up saying, "Jon Moxley, I accept." So there you go. Looks like it's going to be Darby Allin who's going to be taking on Jon Moxley next. So that's going to be really awesome. But all in all, it was an okay match. Then we had the women's match. Nyla Rose versus Dani Jordan. Very short match, very short women's match. We had Nyla Rose win the match. She ended up hitting a sit-down powerbomb to Dani Jordan. There you go. Nyla Rose ended up winning the match. All in all, very short women's match. then it was announced that there's going to be a Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal next week. And the final two men in the match, in the Battle Royal, will meet in singles competition the week after. And, they will meet in singles competition to obtain this diamond ring. So we're going to get that next week on Dynamite, the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal. That was announced. Then we had Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was talking with Allin. And she ends up saying that she feels like she's been doing well on AEW Dark, which is, they do AEW Dark. They stream it on YouTube, which I haven't watched. I haven't watched AEW Dark. But they upload to YouTube. It's like an hour. But she ended up saying that she's been doing well on AEW Dark. And she wants to show everyone what she can do on Dynamite. So the lights end up going out. And they go back on, and we see Awesome Kong and Brandy Rhodes. They were on the stage when the lights came back on. Kong and Brandy Rhodes make their way down towards Allin. Allin comes. She's just swinging away on Awesome Kong, which did nothing. Kong ended up chopping and hitting a spinning back fist on Allin. Kong then launches Allin on the ramp, and Brandy Rhodes then brings out the knife that we seen during the Full Gear countdown, and Kong ends up using the knife, and she ends up taking a lock of Allin's hair, like what we saw in the countdown at Full Gear. But that was that. Then we had, in my opinion, the best promo or segment of the night, and this really enjoyed this whole promo segment. Chris Jericho ended up coming to the ring, and he gets on the mic. Jericho ended up saying, that he's going to be a double champion by the end of the night, and further prove why he's the best champion of all time. Jericho, says that he still wants a thank you from the AEW roster and the employees. Jericho ended up saying that he's beating everyone that's been put in front of him, even Cody. So Jericho says Cody isn't as good as he thinks he is, and that Cody is an entitled millennial son of a bitch. So we hear Cody's music hits, but Cody doesn't come out. It is actually Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF, which MJF got boos from the crowd because that's how the way you get heat from the crowd to MJF. That's how a heel should be, where the crowd just hates you like that. Baron Corbin, King Corbin needs to take notes from MJF and how to be a heel just like him. So MJF gets in the ring. We had asshole chants from the crowd to MJF. So MJF got on the mic. He ended up saying that if he hadn't thrown in the towel on Cody, Cody's career would have been over. So MJF goes on to say that he's not the villain. Cody is. He says Cody couldn't give any less of a shit about any one of them. The real Cody only cares about himself. MJF continues to say the real Cody is a user. And he says he just saw a young MJF as one of his puppets. And that he never gave a damn. That Cody never gave a damn about him. So MJF ends up saying Cody didn't want to put him under his wing. It was under his thumb. MJF went on to say that he is the new face of AEW. Because Cody, he says to Cody, I'm better than you. And you know it. So then MJF ends up talking to Jericho. MJF says to Jericho that if he had a Mount Rushmore, Jericho would be like third of fourth. And MJF ended up saying to Jericho that he heard from a little birdie that Jericho wanted him in the inner circle. Jericho ended up saying that he heard MJF wants to join the group. And MJF ends up, isn't so sure that he wants to join the circle jerk. And doesn't think he needs the group. So Jericho ends up saying that MJF says to MJF that it almost seems like MJF wants to be a bit like Jericho. And he says they both have 3-letter names. They both like scarves. And they end up going back and forth. Both of them go back and forth about MJF joining the group. And they both, MJF and Jericho, say they know who the biggest jackass in AEW is. And they both end up saying Cody. And so the two hug it out. And then Cody comes out. Cody's on the stage, stares at both Jericho and MJF. Cody then ends up taking down Jericho and MJF. And then we see Wardlow. Wardlow makes his AEW debut. He ends up taking out Cody. Wardlow ends up beating up on Cody more. And he then takes Cody, chokes Cody over the edge, just with a scarf, and he ends up choking Cody on the ring ropes. And the referees and others had to come out to help Cody out. And pretty much that's basically how the promo segment ended. But really enjoyed this with Jericho and MJF. It was TV gold between the both of them. It was just really funny how the way they bickered back and forth. So when MJF, the crowd booing the hell out of him. That is how you get heel heat from the crowd of a guy you can't stand. Like I said, Corbin needs to take notes on how to, get heel heat, because Corbin, whenever he comes out, he has go away heat. He has channel changing heat, where it makes you want to pick up the remote and change the channel because you can't stand, the guy being on TV. So MJF knows how to get heat from the crowd. But really enjoyed the whole promo segment from Jericho and MJF. Then we had Pac versus Hangman Adam Page. This is a rematch from Full Gear. And the match itself, it was a decent match between the both of them. It was back and forth. You had Pac once again win the match. Ends up locking in the brutalizer on Hangman Adam Page. There you go. Pac ends up winning the match. But overall, it was a decent match between the both of them. Sorry about that, but after Pac versus Hangman Adam Page, we went backstage and we saw Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks. They were being down on Santana and Ortiz, Proud and Powerful. We saw Matt Jackson end up putting Ortiz through a table. Santana, we saw, ended up climbing on top of this forklift. Ends up hitting a crossbody on both Matt and Nick Jackson. We saw Nick and Santana. They were battling through backstage. Santana ended up throwing Nick Jackson into a bathroom door. And what was funny was when Santana threw Nick into the bathroom door, it swung open. And just right there, we see Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy's just standing there like... It was very funny. It was a very awkward moment. Just seeing Orange Cassidy just standing there like, oh, he's, hiding in the bathroom. So Santana ends up closing the door slowly. And then Santana then gets a super kick by Matt Jackson. So then Dynamite went to commercial. And during the commercial, they were just battling it out. Santana and Ortiz and Matt and Nick Jackson throughout the commercial break. Because you saw in that little box while the commercial was playing, or the commercials were playing. So then, when Dynamite comes back from commercial, the Young Bucks and Santana Ortiz are on the stage. Young Bucks end up laying a super kick to some of the security guys. And they go after Santana and Ortiz again. Ortiz holds Nick's leg up. And Santana ended up swinging away over and over. And they then focus on Matt. And Santana then sprays a white circle on the floor. Looked like a target. Ends up spraying it, with the spray paint. It was white spray paint. And they end up doing a double power bomb to Matt right through the stage, like what they did to Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express. So Brandon Cutler ends up coming out, and he tries to get Santana and Ortiz to stop. So Santana and Ortiz, they look like they're going to stop, but they come over and swing away on Matt or on Nick. I'm sorry, they swing away on Nick. So Private Party comes out, and they both shove Santana and Ortiz away, and they're going to be having a match. Private Party's going to be having a match against Santana and Ortiz next week on Dynamite. So that's going to be a pretty good match to see. So the security had to separate Private Party and Santana and Ortiz. And Matt and Nick were then helped to the back. And that's how everything ended with them. But really liked this brawl between the Young Bucks and Ortiz and Santana. Then we had the main event. SCU versus Jericho and Sammy Guevara. Tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. Of course, Jericho, when he came out, Jake Hager was beside him. There were a few points in this match where Hager got involved, and he ended up throwing Scorpio Sky into the chairs, into the barricade on the outside. So, but the match itself, it was a decent match. It was a decent main event between Jericho, Guevara, and SCU. And it was back and forth between them. But SCU ends up winning the match. Scorpio Sky ends up rolling up Jericho. And with Scorpio Sky rolling up Jericho, this is actually Jericho's first loss of him being in AEW. This is his first AEW loss. So SCU ends up winning the match, retaining the AEW World Tag Team Championship, which I knew was going to happen. Those titles weren't coming off of SCU that fast. So when Jericho got pinned post-match, he couldn't believe it. Jericho couldn't believe it that he lost. Like I said, this is his first loss in AEW. So Jericho ends up starting to throw stuff around all over the place on the floor. He ends up taking a chair. He bangs the chair up against the ring post, complaining, and that is how Dynamite went off the air. But all in all, it was a decent tag team main event match, and really shocked that this is Jericho's first loss in AEW. But all in all, it was a solid show tonight. AEW keeps on delivering every single week. The Nashville crowd was great tonight. So anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's Dynamite. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until the next video, I'll see you all later.